Welcome back to Ancient Paths, Modern Steps. The 9 to 5, the lifelong career with a single company, the gold watch at retirement. For many, these are relics of a bygone era. We're now navigating a world of side hustles, freelance gigs, remote work, and the constant pressure to innovate, adapt, and stay relevant. In this ever-shifting landscape of the gig economy, where stability can feel like a luxury and the boundaries between work and life blur, how do we find not just income, but meaning, Sabbath, and a sense of divine calling? Today, we're exploring this new frontier in an episode titled The Gig and the Gospel: Finding Meaning and Stability in the Age of the Hustle. Let me introduce you to David and Chloe. David, a former marketing manager, was downsized during a corporate restructuring. Now, he juggles multiple freelance projects, writing web copy for a startup, managing social media for a local bakery, and occasionally driving for a rideshare app to fill the gaps. Chloe, a graphic designer, voluntarily left her agency job, seeking more autonomy. She loves the freedom of choosing her projects and setting her own hours, but the feast or famine nature of freelance work brings its own anxieties. They both feel the constant pressure to be on, networking, pitching, upskilling, their phones buzzing with potential opportunities or urgent client demands at all hours. Their faith is important to them. They grew up with a traditional understanding of vocation, that God calls people to specific, often stable professions. But their current work lives feel more like a patchwork quilt, stitched together out of necessity and opportunity rather than a clearly defined calling. Where does God fit into this hustle? David finds himself wrestling with identity. His previous job title gave him a sense of status and security. Now, he feels like he's constantly explaining what he does. He misses the camaraderie of a regular team. The algorithms that assign him rideshare passengers or dictate project rates on freelance platforms feel impersonal, sometimes dehumanizing. He remembers Jesus' words about being yoked. "Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Matthew 11:29-30. His current yoke feels heavy, unpredictable, and often isolating. Chloe, on the other hand, initially reveled in the freedom, but the lack of clear boundaries is taking its toll. Work bleeds into evenings, weekends. The pressure to constantly market herself, to maintain a perfect online professional persona, feels exhausting. She remembers the biblical concept of Sabbath, a day of rest, of ceasing from labor, of remembering that our worth isn't tied to our productivity. Exodus 20:8-11. But in the gig economy, taking a true Sabbath can feel like falling behind, risking missed opportunities. The always-on culture is a demanding master.
One evening, exhausted and anxious about a looming deadline and a slow month for new projects, David and Chloe talk. Is this it? David wonders aloud. Just constantly chasing the next gig, hoping it's enough? Where's the meaning in that? Chloe shares her struggle with Sabbath. I feel guilty if I'm not working or trying to find work. It's like my value is tied to my busyness. They start exploring what their faith tradition says about work, rest, and provision. They rediscover the Genesis account, where God is portrayed as a worker, creating and finding it good, Genesis 1. This affirms the inherent dignity of work itself, not just specific professions. They read about the early church, where believers shared resources and supported one another in community. Acts 2:44-45, a radical countercultural model of economic interdependence. They consider Jesus himself. He wasn't a CEO or a tenured professor. He was an itinerant preacher, a carpenter, a skilled tradesman, likely working job by job. His calling wasn't tied to a corporate ladder, but to a mission. His security wasn't in a pension plan, but in his Father's provision. Consider the lilies. This doesn't mean irresponsibility, but a fundamental trust. David begins to see that his calling might not be a single job title, but a broader call to use his skills, communication, strategy, service, in whatever context he finds himself. Whether it's crafting a compelling website for a small business or offering a moment of kindness to a rideshare passenger, meaning can be found in the how and why of work, not just the what. Chloe starts to intentionally schedule Sabbath time, truly unplugging, even if it feels risky. She realizes that rest isn't a luxury, but a divine command and a necessary act of trust and resistance against the relentless demands of the hustle. She starts connecting with other freelancers, not just for networking, but for mutual support and encouragement, creating a sense of team outside traditional structures. They both become more aware of the justice issues within the gig economy. While it offers flexibility for some, for many others it means precariousness, lack of benefits, and algorithmic exploitation. They recall Jesus' concern for laborers. The worker deserves his wages, Luke 10:7, and his critique of systems that oppress the vulnerable. They begin to ask questions. How can we advocate for fairer platforms? How can we support initiatives that provide safety nets for gig workers? How can the church be a place of practical support and advocacy for those navigating this new economic reality? They learn that the gospel, the good news, isn't just about an afterlife, but about God's kingdom breaking into the present, bringing shalom, justice, and wholeness to all aspects of life, including our work. Finding meaning in the age of the hustle isn't about baptizing the relentless pursuit of more, but about infusing our varied work with purpose, seeking justice, prioritizing rest, and grounding our identity not in our output, but in our belovedness as children of God. Their journey isn't about finding easy answers or a return to an old model. It's about creatively and faithfully navigating the new realities, discerning how to honor God and love their neighbor within the complexities of the gig economy. It's about recognizing that even in the fragmented, fast-paced world of the hustle, the ancient wisdom of the gospel offers a path to meaning, stability of soul, and a profound sense of purpose.
David and Chloe's story reflects the realities many are facing. This isn't just about economics, it's deeply spiritual. The world of work is in flux, but the core human need for meaning, dignity, and connection remains. Our faith offers timeless wisdom to navigate these new terrains. And as we consider the evolving ways we live and work, we must also look at how we are shaping and being shaped by the youngest among us. Next time on Ancient Paths, Modern Steps, we're turning our attention to a generation growing up in an unprecedented era of information, pressure, and possibility. Alpha's ascent, nurturing faith and resilience in the next generation amidst digital deluges and existential anxieties. Born entirely in the 21st century, Generation Alpha, those born from roughly 2010 to 2024, is inheriting a world of incredible technological advancement, but also one marked by climate change, social division, and profound questions about the future. How do we effectively disciple children who are digital natives, bombarded by endless content, and often grappling with anxieties that previous generations never faced so young? What are the unique spiritual questions and needs of this emerging generation, and how can the timeless truths of the gospel be communicated in ways that are relevant and life-giving for them? How can families, churches, and communities partner to cultivate deep faith, moral character, and genuine resilience in the hearts of our youngest, helping them navigate complexity with hope and purpose? Join us as we explore the critical task of investing in Generation Alpha, seeking to understand their world and equip them with an unshakable foundation of faith for the journey ahead. This is a conversation for every parent, grandparent, educator, and anyone who cares about the future of faith. Subscribe to Ancient Paths, Modern Steps wherever you get your podcasts.